fine. I'm perfectly fine.
Hi there, and welcome to Baseball by Design. I am SportsLogos.net minor league baseball correspondent Paul Caputo, broadcasting live, as always, from the Sunday Helmet Hall of Fame in my basement in Fort Collins, Colorado.
And I am Dan Simon, broadcasting live, as usual, from the Studio Simon Stumper headquarters in Louisville, Kentucky.
Dan, I have a question for you as a designer of brands, of logos. This is your profession. This is your life. How long from first conversation to final product does it typically take for you to create a brand? Suppose a team comes to you with, we've got an idea for a name or a subject matter for a name. If they want to know how long is it going to take us to finish this project, roughly what do you tell them?
I tell them 8 to 12 weeks.
8 to 12 weeks. So 2 to 3 months. Okay. All right. This episode, Dan, we're going to be talking about a team that played in 7 different brands, a team in Gastonia, North Carolina. Nick Matarese of the Barn Creative created these brands during the season, like he was working on brands while they were already playing. And they trotted out 7 brands that fans then voted on. And he basically said that it was hectic and it was sort of crazy. And some of them, they had to sort of cut some corners in order to get them out on time. As a designer, does that project appeal to you, or is that something that you would say, nah, Nick, you take it?
Oh, actually, I think it's, first of all, a very clever idea of the people in Gastonia's front office to do it that way. And, I'd definitely be up for something like that. It's a lot of work, obviously.
Yeah.
But I remember them doing it and thinking, wow, nobody's ever done this before. Somebody thought to do it and they went ahead and did it. And here it is, leading them to now their official identity is the Ghost Peppers.
There are the Ghost Peppers. How are you on spicy food?
I love spicy food, although I find that my tolerance for spice is not as high as it used to be. Like things that I could tolerate before and enjoy, now sometimes they're too hot. I'm trying to think. There was something I ate like last year and it was just so hot I couldn't enjoy it. And it was something I normally enjoy. And I wish I could remember what it was, but I got it and it was just too hot. It was literally making me sweat. And I don't want to sweat when I'm eating. So,
well, my friend Al Langlois, one of the Baseball Palooza guys, he's been on a couple of the New Jersey-based episodes of this podcast as like my New Jersey culture correspondent. He was on the Jersey Diners episode, and then just recently he was on the Fill It Up Regulars. He told me once a line that I'll always remember. The first time I went to Nashville, I was there for a work trip, and I was going to go to Hattie B's Hot Chicken, which he had highly recommended. And he said to me, the one piece of advice he gave me, which I'll always remember, he said, don't be a hero. The medium heat is fine. You don't need to get it spicy because the medium heat will be everything that you need. And so I heeded his advice, and even the medium was a bit much, right? Like even that was a bit much. The reason I bring this up, Dan, is because in addition to speaking with designer Nick Matarese, we're going to be speaking with Ed Curry, who is the breeder of the world's hottest pepper, the Pepper X. He is also in North Carolina. So this is going to be a fun episode. We're going to talk about hot peppers. Nick and I are going to run through all of the brands that he created. Then we're going to talk to Ed about hot peppers. And then you're going to be back with a Studio Simon Stumper.
I am looking forward to that. And so I'm going to step away, but I'll be right back.
All right, we'll see you soon. Welcome back to the podcast. Nick Matarese of the Barn Creative, Delaware-based Barn Creative. Nick, good morning. How are you doing?
Doing all right. How about you?
Welcome back to the podcast. Listeners of the podcast will remember you from episodes on the Billings Mustangs and the Wilmington Blue Rocks Copa identity. Yes. But today we are talking about the Gastonia Ghost Peppers. And this is a fun one because, man, they had an interesting journey to get to this nickname. I'm going to let you tell that story. What happened last year with the Gastonia Ghost Peppers?
So last year, I think it was Warrior Sports is kind of like the umbrella corporation, bought the team or the rights to the team, however you want to say it. They were previously the Honey Hunters, but
Hmm.
because of, legal stuff that happens when people buy teams, there was they needed to rebrand. So like most teams, they want to do, the fan vote, have some fun. And I remember when they came to us, they were like, "Hey, we want to do the fan vote." And I was like, "Okay, pretty standard." And they're like, "Yeah, but we don't want to do it the normal way." And they're like, "What do you mean?" And I go, "Well, we actually want on the field examples of what it would look like rather than just a vote here. We want to actually have something that might look like the final vote, and every week we're going to have a whatever." Or it was like every 3 weeks or whatever. And at first, as a designer, that gets you all excited. You're
Yeah.
like, "Oh yeah, we're gonna do like 7, 8 baseball teams. That's awesome." Then you agree to it, and you kind of do the like you blink 1,000 times. You're like,
Yeah.
"How on earth are we gonna pull this off?" So yeah, it was. I think I'm looking at my list now. We did seven on the field.
Yeah.
We actually did nine. Two of them
Oh,
just like didn't make the cut. So like lost the time.
of course.
And yeah, so and then once they were literally on the field every couple of weeks, they had a new team named, hats, jerseys, a whole bit. There was a final vote, and then we got to tweak from there because obviously you're working at absolute warp speed
Yeah.
to get these teams onto the field. So we got to, once the fans voted on a final, we got to tweak some, add some details, finish some touches, fix line weight, all the fun designer stuff.
So it's hard enough to come up with, one team name that really represents an area that has that local connection. Coming up with seven of them, having to do the artwork, and we'll get into the individual names here of the teams, and then ultimately we'll talk about the Ghost Peppers because that's what they settled on. But from phone rings, hey Nick, it's the Gastonia Ball Club. We have this idea to seven brands on the field. How much time did you have there?
From the first team, since like finding out that we were going to do it to the first team, we had a couple of weeks on the first one, just because there was some logistical, like how
Couple
much
of weeks.
time, obviously they've got suppliers and things like that. And they're like,
Yeah.
"Okay, we need this much time before we announce. We need this much. We need, these are the assets we're actually going to need." Like, all the little, again,
Yeah.
crossing T's and dotting I's kind of situation. We probably had like, let's say 3 weeks from the first one. But then in reality, like when we started the first one, we didn't even have the names for the last ones. Like
Okay.
we couldn't like work in like some sort of sickle. "Oh, we're gonna jump to this." It was just
So
here's your team name. So probably only about a week, if less, between it was like, "Here's a team name we need it by the end of the week.
so
Go."
you were designing on-field brands, logos, uniforms, everything during the
Pretty much.
season for
Oh
them
yeah.
to wear. How do they even produce them that quickly? I mean, I guess they,
They must have worked some deal with a supplier. I'm not gonna lie to you. I didn't really know. I mean, I knew they were all sublimated. They wore all the same pants. Like, baseball stuff, there was a ways. So all they focused on was the jersey. So
okay.
the pants didn't change, the helmets didn't change. I think the hats did. So I do know that they have Sawyer is a umbrella company. They own a bunch of teams and a bunch of assets. I know one of them is a producer of sorts. So I
Ah,
wouldn't be surprised if they again made a deal with the sublimation company. So all they had to worry about was hats and merch,
okay.
kind of thing. Yeah.
So let's go through these here because we
Yeah.
can't spend a ton of time on each one of them, but every one of them attempted to make some sort of connection to
We
Gastonia.
tried. We
You,
tried.
we're going to go through these in order, and this was the 2024 season, so this is just last year that this was happening on
Yes.
the field here. The first one was the Gastonia Gastronauts,
Yes.
and I don't know. Let's how do you remember what the connection was when they
I do not remember the actual connection of space exploration and Gastonia. I mean, I know they love alliteration. You can find a lot of
Yep.
those, but This is probably my favorite, probably just because we had the most time out of all of them. We had like 2 weeks rather than 4 days to produce. And as funny as it is, there was a secondary logo that I loved so much, and it was actually based off of a drawing I was doing with my daughter. Like we were drawing
Oh,
crayons, and I'm just doodling.
right.
It was a secondary logo of, an astronaut in full baseball clothing, swinging a bat.
Nice.
And like the baseball's a moon, like it
Yeah.
fit in really well. And I always remember that the text I sent to, Gastonia when we were doodling, I was like, because originally it was Ken Griffey Jr. as
Oh,
an astronaut because he
yeah.
had like the bubble gum and like a
Right.
backward
Right. Right.
hat. And I was
Right.
just doodling and I was like, oh, like with, my 6-year-old daughter. It's like, oh, how funny is this? And
Yeah.
then we could probably make some adjustments, remove the Ken Griffey Jr. obvious like
Right. 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 Right.
bubblegum thing. And we were like, this works. And yeah, that was probably my favorite one. But again, we snuck in the state in the reflection of the
Yeah.
primary logo,
Yeah.
some baseball references in the helmet. But yeah, it was really just a
Yeah.
how do we have some fun with this and sneak in baseball references?
It's what I said on sportslogos.net in an article dated August 24, 2024, so less than a year ago. And I said the term gastronauts plays off the first three letters of the town name, featuring an outer space theme. And then in parenthesis, I guess I thought I was pretty funny. I said much better than another potential nickname, the gastroenterologists. Maybe I
Yeah,
just
absolutely. Oh, those jokes came up when we were like, we can. And they're like, no, we don't want to mess with that.
All right, so that wasn't original for me, I guess. Okay, this next one is
Yeah.
we're gonna call this a. It's I'm assuming it's a rhyme, depending on how you pronounce it. But you
Yes.
Gastonia Bologna.
Yes, that's how they wanted to say it. They wanted to play with that. And this was definitely an interesting one because we had the conversation of like, well, okay, well, you go a bunch of different ways with that,
Yeah.
and we started talking about local traditions. And I was just like, we could always just go fried bologna sandwich, like the old, like whatever. And this is where, like, again, a little bit more time. We weren't getting super crunched on those first couple. So
Yeah.
we are like, all right, well, what if we pull the cheese and we do the whatever? So the Gastonia, the county is actually hidden in the cheese pool. If you
Oh,
actually look real close, like, the cheese pool, all the strings come out. One of the little like strings, the voids of the cheese actually makes the county shape.
so you've got the two halves of the sandwich. They're pulling apart,
Yes.
and the strings of cheese have created these shapes. And one of those like counterforms, the voids you
Yes.
called it,
Yes.
is the shape of the county.
Exactly.
That's a deep cut there. I wonder how many
That's a
folks
deep
would.
cut. Yeah, it was definitely we were reaching a little bit, but
I
it was
like it.
fun. It was really just there were all these, holes. We all know in sports branding it's can't be too detailed. It's going to be shrunk
Yep.
down.
Yep.
So when we just started seeing all these shapes, oh, that was the other one. Now that I'm staring at it on my screen, the cheese pool is actually the state shape, and the one of the holes
Oh,
is actually like where the county is and all that stuff. So if you look up the cheese is actually state shape, and Gastonia or Gaston County is actually like in like right where it belongs.
I was going to ask, is it is geographically
It
appropriate
is
there? That's
geographically appropriate. Yes.
very nice. And they to reinforce their point, and I don't know if folks even noticed this because Bologna is spelled so many different ways, but they added an I to Bologna
Yes.
because Bologna to make it, you
They
know,
wanted the alliteration.
they
Yeah, they
wanted
wanted it.
to
Yeah.
mimic Gastonia, the
Yes.
Gastonia Bologna.
Bologna.
That's how I'm going to pronounce it.
Yes. That's how I thought we were supposed to pronounce it as well.
Yeah, very nice. Okay, then the third one. We're into July now in the
Yeah.
season, and they did the Gastonia Galactic Dinos, and
Yes.
so you get another sort of space theme here, but it's a
Space theme.
dinosaur in the
Yes.
yeah.
This is where the one that never saw the light of day, they were going to be, it was either just the dino. So there is a dinosaur called Gastonia, like
Really?
a Gastonia. It's kind of a weird shape. It looks like a couple of things. That was one of the ones where we made all of these marks and everyone just kind of went, yeah, it looks like a dinosaur, but no one has any idea what a Gastonia is.
Oh,
Maybe if you're from there, it would, again, it's a very weird shape.
It looks like a cross between a stegosaurus and a horseshoe crab.
Exactly. Like, so we were trying to do things with the tail, and we had these spikes, and it was one of those things where it worked. It was actually a good logo, but it was just lost. So we kind of switched back to the space theme, and it was one of the better ones designed. One of the guys on our team just kind of we
Yeah.
always joke that sometimes you're just in it and it
Yeah.
just works.
Yeah.
You literally just like the light bulb above his head is just like, I got it. And like go, bing. I think it was really like he throws some sketches. I was like, make sure we do this, make sure we do that. Keep going. Like I'll just get out of the way. Keep
Yeah.
going.
Yeah. Well, and this one has a specific connection to the local community. It says here on sportslogos.net anyway, and there's even the Shield Museum of Natural History. I don't know if I'm saying that correctly, but it's
I'm with you. I'm not 100% sure.
okay. But in their promotional materials for the Gastonia Galactic Dinos, they have the Shield Museum logo is actually in there. So I'm guessing that the museum may have sponsored that one.
Yes,
But
they had a lot of sponsors through all of these. Yeah.
yeah, but this one, I like this one a lot. I like the dinosaur in the space costume here. It's like 8-year-old Paul is like super psyched about this one. Dinosaurs and outer space. Come on.
Exactly. And we always say that mainly with minor league baseball. Like
Yeah.
our joke is we always want a little kid. We want like the kid inside of all of us just to be like, I need this hat. I need this t-shirt. Like, yeah, mom, I need this t-shirt. Like that's kind of, I don't want to say who you're designing for, but generally know your audience. And that's who's really wants this. So yeah, dinosaurs in space. You can't top that.
Yeah, that's an awfully good one. Do these exist in like at the team store? Like, can you get merch for these?
I still think there's some like stragglers. So they sold
Oh.
merch every week, all of like Lux up. And I think if you can go in their team store now, obviously it's going to be a lot of Ghost Pepper stuff because that was the winner. But they do have like we still have some leftover, gastronauts shirts. Actually, I think the gastronauts went really fast. But I think like we'll say the zombies. We still got some of those if you want some random one-off that in the years, in the future, there's going to be some little collector's item.
Well, we're going to skip number 4 because we're going to come back to it.
Okay.
But you mentioned the zombies.
Yes.
But it's zombies, B
Zombies.
S,
Yes.
because the city has a connection to bees.
Bees,
So
yes.
this is an undead bumblebee.
Undead bee.
Yeah.
There were a bunch of these that came out. Again, we were kind of joke where you just start having fun.
Yeah.
And like it just kind of starts writing itself. It was hard to get a bee and it's to like get those ideas together.
Yeah.
But as soon as we had one where it was actually like a skull with wings
Okay.
and like we had a bunch of like again the ideas were flowing. It was really just figuring out which one actually looked like a bee and a zombie, like which one were 50-50, not
Right.
80-20.
Right.
I was always a big fan. We usually added in a couple of merch designs, just simple ones. And
Sure.
this one was one of my favorite where it just said "Go Brains." It didn't say zombies. I was just like people should root for brains. They shouldn't root for zombies. They should.
The O in zombies has a little like, is that like a nuclear symbol in it?
Yes, it's like the radioactive, danger symbol.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's the thing that created the zombies.
Yes.
But I noted in sports logos that it was the reason for bees anyway is that Gastonia is the 74th city in the United States to earn the designation of Bee City USA, which means that the city has activities related to, beekeeping and promoting bee environments.
Yes, I think the Carolinas as a whole are very bee heavy. Since the Charlotte Hornets, et cetera,
Right.
et cetera.
Right.
But yes, it's actually funny as you're saying this. It's been a year, but you're reminding me of all of our research of all of these things.
Well, I'm sure what I wrote on sports logos was culled directly from promotional materials that the team put out. So it's
That sounds right.
I don't deserve too much credit for this. All right, so the 6th one that the team did. So
Yes.
now we're at the end of August. The triple G here, the Gastonia Garden Gnomes.
Yeah.
So triple G in spelling, but not in pronunciation.
Yes.
It features a ceramic garden gnome.
Yes. This was one of the ones where I almost wanted this to get picked just because I'm saying like the ramifications in a good way would just be hysterical, like, and this also goes after, we always say it's about a, whatever, 11-year-old boy, 9-year-old boy.
Yeah.
This was more like moms,
Ah.
like we wanted a different market. Like I could just see like my wife, perfect example, with like a garden gnome hat. Like this is my hat. Like this is my absolute, So it was definitely a fun twist. Usually it's about making things mean and 9-year-old boyish. And
Yeah.
this was very much like, how do we make it a garden gnome? I loved this one. It was, again, for speed, it was one of those things I really, I would have loved to spend, 2 more weeks on it, rather than, the 4 days that we had. But just because the idea was fun and unique.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. It is a fun one, and everyone loves a garden gnome, right? Like
Yeah.
they're fun. He's just a little guy. He's basically like all head and then 2 feet, right? Like
Yeah, we
there's
had we had two versions. One is essentially like all hat and just
yeah,
like a
right.
nose popping out.
Yeah.
And then the other we had secondary logo guys like classic, baseball stance. Again, it was just an interesting idea to go with. And we were going down the rabbit hole of, what could the stadium look like? How can we just put like mushrooms places? And like how can we, it would have been a fun, like, I want to say cute,
Right.
but it would have been fun. It's
Yeah.
just
Oh, yeah.
a whole storytelling throughout would have been very fun.
Okay, the last one, this brought us all the way into the end of August and beginning of September. The Gastonia Yarniacs, and the
Yarn.
Yarniac is an animal, but kind of made of yarn. So
Yes.
what
Yeah.
what
It's a
what?
yak made of yarn. There is a textile is really big in Gastonia. And
Okay.
that's where the yarn came from. Again, lots of iterations. How are you going to pull something off that's yarn? One, we had an idea, and I actually think it came out in the jerseys, was everything was just going to look like it was not stitched, but like crocheted. Like the
Ah,
logo
okay.
was crocheted. Like the logo was actually going to be overly simplified, but just everything's made a little X's. Like everything was going to be crocheted.
When they posted the What If Night promotion, that's actually the one that they used. It says like Yarniacs, but it's little
Mm,
typographic characters have made up the word Yarniacs, and they look like little stitches. So
little stitches. Yeah. And that was kind of, again, storytelling. What we're
yeah,
always pushing is how can we constantly be pushing just a simple idea and like, okay, well, if we do this, we could do that. We could do this, we could do that, kind of thing. And, it's not what they picked. It was one of the harder ones just because how do you push kind of a complex idea of a
right,
yak, essentially,
right.
but with this idea. So that was the one they kind of chose. We had probably four others that were various degrees of, again, they settled on what we would call 50-50.
Yeah.
We were pushing more 70-30,
Okay.
but we got voted off the island for that.
Is there a connection with yak? Does it have something to do with like Gastonia? Like or is that just
That
a
one was given to us. That was
okay?
I'm not 100% sure. We pushed the textile part. I think they were just trying to have fun with the
Sure,
textile industry.
sure.
And we're like, we need a mascot. How would we tie that in? You can't just I mean, you could just have a ball of yarn rolling around everywhere. But it was the secondary logo. It was a ball of yarn it was a baseball, but it was made out of yarn. And then instead of like bats crossing, it was like
Oh, that's funny.
the
See, now my daughter Maya would have absolutely loved that one because she's big into crochet. She's like a whiz with it. She made me a crochet Philly fanatic that was incredible. So,
that's
she's
awesome.
she's a whiz with the with the
Love it.
crochet. Hey, everyone is on the edge of their seats. They want to know how this
Yes.
all turned out. The
Yes.
voters settled on idea number 4, which we have
Yes.
not talked about, but everybody knows what it's going to be because it's the title of this podcast episode,
Yes.
the Gastonia Ghost Peppers, which features the ghost pepper, not cultivated in North Carolina, so far as I know, unless I'm wrong about that. I don't know if I'm wrong about that. It's what I
I'm
said
not
in
100% sure. Again, it's been a year since we did all this research, but it was definitely, again, fan vote.
yes.
It was pretty unanimous.
So before we get into that fan vote, let's talk about this brand. It's sort of a badass looking pepper here, and it's got like this sort of like fun, scripty feeling about it. And it's sort of ghost-like in that it's, it's got the sort of flames coming off it, which I know are meant to evoke heat, but also have sort of a ghostly feeling about them. So it's sort of
Yeah.
a dual effect there. This character is fun. It's all warm colors. Even the green is like a warm green. It's so it's definitely evoking that heat. Tell me about the Ghost Peppers logo.
So yeah, again, 100% fan vote. They left it up to the fans, and this was overwhelming.
Mm.
We got again, we work so much with them. We got a text. It was like, "Hey, voting is still open for a week or whatever," and it was like, "But just note, it's going to be Ghost Pepper." Start wrapping your head around it. It's 20 to 1 right now. Someone would have to come out way from behind. So we started kind of sketching, and again, given 4 days to a week before, it was one of those things like, okay, how can we clean this up? How whatever. We had a couple of ideas. One was to completely throw out the original logo and make, again, the double pun. We actually had like a chili pepper, like covered in a classic, ghost sheet,
Mhm.
like ghost pepper. Like it was a classic, like, is this Halloween ghosts or is this a pepper? And we were like, oh, we could use glow in the dark and we could like had all these fun things. But they really wanted to press the heat concept.
Mm.
Like this idea of fire and like that smoke you get when having a ghost pepper. So it was really like that's where our hands came from. That's where it was like, oh, we still need the spooky hands. That's what we call it. We call them the spooky hands. And they're not connected to the pepper themselves. Like that's how we push like really like the double of ghost. Yeah, we wanted something organic. We wanted to make sure that it tells that story. Lots of iterations. What's a ghost pepper look like? Is it just a pepper that's a ghost and fire? Are we really going with ghost pepper? How scary are we going? That was a big one. We had various variations of scary. This
Mm.
is pretty low key in reality. We had a couple that were pretty scary, to be brutally honest.
Yeah.
That we were like, again, 9-year-old boy might be like coolest logo ever. But mom's like, that's too scary, you're not wearing that. Um, Again, it was really just pushing and storytelling. We
Yeah.
have two marks that, again, secondary and tertiary, that we really like. The flaming bat is a good one. We really love how you can see through the pepper, through the flames to the pepper on the other side.
Right.
And we made one as a lockup mark, the roundel that everyone kind of needs
Yeah.
to have. But we wanted to make sure our roundel felt like a kind of like a hot sauce label
Yeah.
more than
Oh, yeah.
anything else. That's like the vibes we wanted to. That was kind of what we were going for. We always say, like, how do we make this mascot look less like a baseball team and more like a hot sauce? That was kind of like the how do we tell that story of heat? And it was hot sauce. Think hot sauce.
So the pepper in the logo is smooth, and I think that you
Yes.
need to have that in a logo. I was researching these peppers because
Yeah.
it's amazing how on top of this you have to be to see which is the hottest pepper in the world because it's constantly changing.
Yeah.
They've got Pepper X, I guess, is now the
Yeah,
hottest
there's all
one.
these weird hybrids and stuff.
Yeah. And
I don't know the
people,
science behind it, but yeah.
no, it looks terrifying too. Like when you look at these peppers, they're just like sort of like you say, like you wouldn't wear that logo because it's too scary. I wouldn't like even look at that pepper because it's
Yeah, we could show off some build up to what that final
oh
pepper, and it was definitely like a more shriveled ghost
yeah.
pepper.
Yeah,
Like we had like skulls and mean faces in
yeah.
it, and again, it just came down to like, yeah, he's a little too mean.
Yeah.
We got to scale this back a little bit. And they're thinking of mascots, and they're thinking
Right.
of like, the long term play of owning a minor league baseball team.
Right.
And it's the right call.
Yeah.
Yes, it's fun to have a scary logo, but you can't have your mascot like actually scaring children.
Yes. Yeah.
Like big bad wolf coming out of it.
This is the ghost pepper. This is just sort of fascinating to me. The ghost pepper was at one point the world's hottest pepper. It is number 8 on that list right now. Pepper X is number 1. But number 2 is the Carolina Reaper. Was the Carolina Reaper must have been part of the
Yes.
conversation, but Reaper was just too grim, as it
It
were.
was too grim.
Yeah.
Because literally that is one of the other conversations we had, switching from ghost pepper to reapers. And can we show a Reaper, but put
Yeah.
a Ghost Pepper? And like all, again, these were the conversations that we're having.
Yeah.
And, you don't want that one person like, that's the wrong type of, whatever. So like we had to like play with that with, artistic license.
Yeah.
But yes, that conversation absolutely came up
Yeah.
of, is as bad as sickle? And I'm like, yeah, but then it's a Reaper, it's not a Ghost Pepper, all of those conversations.
Right. Well, and
Yeah.
Ghost Peppers has the alliteration too. So
Yes, yes,
that
it's the Gastonia Ghost Peppers. It's a good name. And then
it is a
I
good
actually
name.
would say that Ghost Pepper, even though, again, what you say is number 8
Yeah.
today,
8.
it is kind of like universally known as like, that's the hot pepper.
It's still awfully spicy. Yes, exactly.
Ex-
Some of these on this list I've never even heard of. So,
Yeah,
you know,
the average person is, just knows Ghost Pepper as way up here in the heat scale.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So how much this is longer than I normally keep you on here, but obviously we had 7 brands to talk about instead of
Yeah.
just the one. Just sort of one last question. Did you enjoy the experience? Like if another team came back to you and said, "Hey, let's do this." I know you're not going to turn the work down, but like would you be like,
Yeah, I would say yes, but there
Okay.
was some things I learned. Let's say that. It was a challenge.
Sure.
And, like any designer or, people who are doing, things of this nature, you want
Yeah.
the challenge. You want the, can I pull that off? Is it even possible? Is
Yeah.
it, you want, that it's why we do it. This idea, you don't want to keep, just doing the same thing over and over again. So
Sure.
someone gives you some new idea, you get excited for it. But yeah, I mean, there's definitely things we would learn. Might have charged more. Like we have a great relationship, so that's not a bad thing. It's more just it was a lot of work.
Sure. Sure.
It was fun. Again, we probably would have pushed like we need team names,
Yeah.
either now or
Right.
at least 3 weeks before we start designing, just to like while we're waiting on approval for this one.
Right.
We can
Right.
start, pencil sketching for whatever name or just getting research because speed was the only, I'd say, issue that we really like. We understood, and luckily the team understood that the speed at which we were working, nothing's going to be great.
Sure.
We liked a lot of the marks and some of them were really good, but you're just working so fast. And
Right.
it's not like, most designers can pull off 1, maybe 2 logos really fast. And it's like, yeah, it was really good. It's like, yeah, can you pull off 9?
Right.
Teams? 9 with you got a primary, a secondary, and a text lockup for 9 teams.
Right.
Like the steam starts coming off your head after a while.
I would think it would take a certain type of designer who would be willing to do that, right? Like I imagine it was good for the team to connect with you and to say, okay, yeah, let's limber up and get this done. It's
Yes.
it
was a very good relationship between us and the team of understanding the speed at which we were working and what was possible within those time frames.
Yeah.
But like as a fun experiment to how can a team brand themselves?
Well, it was fun to follow, certainly from my perspective, and I'm sure there weren't a lot of weekends spent at Rehoboth Beach for you during the 2024 baseball season.
Luckily, the family beach house, we've got a little spot to work. So, but there's a lot of sketching and like I don't want to say iPads on the beach, but definitely concepts of like, hold on, I gotta like little pen and paper. Like I got an idea of how dinosaur could be in space while I'm sitting by the waves. Hold on a second. What about tail?
That actually sounds amazing.
Yeah,
That sounds incredible.
There are perks. There are perks for being your own boss. But yeah, it was a busy summer to say the least.
Oh, that's fun. Well, Nick, I know that you're busy this year as well, too, so I appreciate you taking all this time to talk to me. Hey, where can people find the work that you're doing online and on the socials?
Yeah, so across the board, we're The Barn Creative. The website is .org. Instagram, Facebook, all the socials is /The Barn Creative.
The Barn Creative. Go find it. Nick, thank you so much. This has been great.
Good seeing you.
All right, we are going to the phones right now. It is Smokin' Ed Curry with the Puckerbutt Pepper Company, notable for being the breeder of the world's spiciest pepper. Ed, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me on. It's quite an honor.
Well, the honor is mine to talk with the breeder of the world's spiciest pepper. How did you get into breeding spicy peppers?
Actually, I got into it in college researching heart disease and cancer. Capsaicin, one of the compounds found in peppers, actually has some medical benefits that researchers are finding have a lot of good things for our bodies.
Oh, that's fascinating. I wouldn't have guessed that. You're in the Carolinas right now, home of the some of the spiciest peppers that are out there. You were saying the heat index was up over 110. So you're not just curating these things in the lab. You're actually out there in the world farming them. What is that process like?
Oh, well, it's a year-round process. We start doing our seedlings in the greenhouses at the end of January, early February, and we're planting seedlings for a month and a half, and then putting peppers in the ground for 2 to 3 months, and then starting the breeding greenhouses, and then we harvest from about 2 weeks from now until, sometime in November. And then it's clean up, and then we start the whole process again.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
When it comes to these spiciest peppers out there, I know that there's a sort of constant battle, and these peppers are always surpassing one another. Right now, as I understand, Pepper X is the world's spiciest pepper. Do I have that right?
Yeah, that's correct. We had the Guinness World Record for 10 years with the Carolina Reaper. I recertified it twice during that time period at hotter levels. And then we took it about 18 months ago or so with Pepper X at a whopping 2.693 million Scoville heat units. Just for comparison, jalapenos like 3,000 to 5,000 Scoville heat unit. We're talking skateboards, roller skates to space shuttles.
What is the practical upshot of this? Like, what when we have a pepper this spicy, what are people actually doing with that pepper?
Well, we're the only ones doing anything with it, and what we're doing is making spicy products with it. It's about economies of scale, really.
Sure.
So if it took 55 gallons of, say, jalapeno mash to make something spicy, we can do the same thing with 5 gallons of Reaper or, a quart of Pepper X. So we can do the same thing with less.
What would happen to a person who tried to eat one of these Pepper X's or even the Carolina Reaper?
Well, there's a lot. People eat Carolina Reapers all the time. It's temporary pain that our body perceives as heat. Okay, It all has to do with a nerve receptor called the TRVP1 receptor that sends a signal to the brain that we perceive as heat. There is no actual heat in peppers. So with a Carolina Reaper, for me, I have mild discomfort for about 5 minutes.
Okay.
For someone who's never tried one, they might have mild discomfort for a half hour. That's just that. But Pepper X, there's very few people who have actually eaten Pepper X. When I ate it on Hot Ones, okay, I was able to talk. No one else could talk. 4 of us ate the pepper. Okay, I was able to talk, and I was essentially. What I was pepper high for a long time. Okay, your body releases endorphin and dopamine in huge quantities to offset that perception of heat. So I was pepper high for about 2 hours, and then we got in the limo, and I started cramping up. You get cramps in your stomach.
Yeah.
And the pain became so great that the limo driver wanted to take me to the hospital. We said no. And when we got out of the limo at the hotel, I laid down on a marble slab for approximately 4 hours.
Oh, my gosh.
Groaning in pain, trying to eat ice cream and stuff. That doesn't do anything to get rid of the heat or the pain. It's just it's just your mind, a mind trick.
Yeah.
And then after like 4 hours, I felt better. Another hour later, we went out to eat, and we were eating peppers again. Okay. Because, like I said, it's all temporary. And there's nothing, unless you have an allergy to nightshades or, a predisposition to like heart issues or vascular issues. And those two only because when you eat all that dopamine and endorphin raises your metabolism, so your heart rate goes up and stuff. So unless you have like an aneurysm that's undiagnosed or an allergy that's undiagnosed, there's really nothing that can happen to you from a pepper. They're actually good for you.
You've been on the Discovery Channel show Dirty Jobs. You were featured in the Netflix documentary We Are the Champions. You mentioned already that you were on Hot Ones. So obviously there's a popular cachet to breeding these hot peppers. What do you think it is that captures people's imaginations about growing these peppers so spicy?
Okay, well, people don't know, but hot sauce overtook ketchup, mustard, and mayonnaise as the number one condiment in the United States a long time ago, almost 20 years ago. And that has to do with all the different ethnicities that have been immigrating. Like, I don't know how old you are, but when I was young, there was only a Chinese and Italian restaurant. That was your two choices,
Yeah.
And you really didn't see anything until the floodgates opened in the mid-'80s. And as people started trying these things, they liked the spicier foods.
Yeah.
So you take that and then you add on the internet, which all of a sudden people were doing challenges and doing risky things and things like that to be on the internet. And the popularity has just gone greater and greater and greater and greater. Plus, the major manufacturers, I'm talking like the Tabascos and the Franks and stuff, they're tier 1 manufacturers. We are a tier 2 manufacturer.
Okay.
Those guys figured out that, hey, people like it spicier. And they saw the trends that were going out in the marketplace. I did a market survey with a major U.S. company, and we did 50 million households, and over 37 million knew my name, okay, in 2018.
Huh.
Okay. Almost 42 million knew the name Carolina Reaper.
Yeah.
That's a lot of people who are interested in spicy things. Doesn't necessarily mean they're eating them. Right. 99.999% of the people who eat hot stuff eat mild stuff.
Yeah.
They're just being a little daring.
Mm-hmm.
But the rest of us, we go to town. And the first time I ate a Carolina Reaper on TV was on CBS News nationwide. And the call out for that afterwards was amazing,
Yeah.
And I wouldn't think that, so many people would want to be tortured. Okay. And they're finding out that they really like the flavors of these really hot peppers.
Yeah.
And when you balance flavor with your food instead of overloading it, it's a culinary experience. It's not a challenge or a dare. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, the folks who enjoy that flavor, it does raise the next question that I have, which is, you were able to eat that Pepper X, even though it did cause you a few hours of discomfort. Were you born with that ability, or did you have to cultivate it and build up to that ability? How much can you build a tolerance to this?
Well, you can build a tolerance, and I akin it to addiction. I'm in recovery for like 26 years now, okay? So when I started doing drugs and alcohol, a couple of beers and maybe a doobie would get me, rolling.
Right.
When my career ended, I was drinking half gallons of straight liquor and doing more drugs than I want to admit to, just to survive.
Yeah.
So it took like a 20-year period to get to that point. And then I'll use my wife as an example. When I met her, the first time I went over to her house to eat, I asked her if she had any hot sauce, and she gave me Texas Pete, Tabasco, and Frank's. Okay?
Right.
And we've been married 22, 23 years now.
Yeah.
And she'll try super hot stuff, and it doesn't make her, she'll slap me and say, "What? That is stupid." You know, she prefers mild sauces.
Sure.
But she can eat any of them.
Yeah.
And she knows if it's a Pepper X sauce that doesn't say mild on it, because we do have Pepper X sauces that are mild, so that people who like mild can try the flavor of the pepper. Okay? But she'll try a hot Pepper X sauce and just say that's stupid, and she just puts a little bit on her food.
Sure.
And it makes her turn red, and she drinks some water, you know. But then she's putting the mild stuff back on the rest of the food.
Right.
You know. It took me 23 years, but she'll eat really hot, stupid hot stuff.
All right.
You know.
This episode of the podcast is about a baseball team called the Gastonia Ghost Peppers. The Ghost Peppers, according to the internet right now, is the 8th most spicy. It's about a third as spicy if you're looking at Scoville units, maybe not quite a third as spicy as the Pepper X. How intimidating is the Ghost Pepper as a baseball mascot, you think?
First of all, I have to explain that the Scoville scale is more logarithmic than a straight scale.
Okay.
Okay. So that's one. Ghost peppers here in the United States, they've been tested in facilities, colleges that grow them and, know what they're doing. They've been tested at about 1 million. But if you go to the grocery store and get a ghost pepper, that's really only about 500,000-600,000 Scoville heat units.
Okay.
I wouldn't say that's a very intimidating pepper. My wife will eat ghost pepper sauces. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
But it's a great idea,
Mm-hmm.
There have been minor league and little league teams that have reached out and asked me, could we use Carolina Reaper? And they have cool looking jerseys. Okay. The ghost pepper isn't really a cool looking pepper. So from a baseball standpoint, you want something that's eye catching. And I've actually seen the Gastonia team play.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, I have. Gastonia is only about a 40-minute ride from here. I like baseball.
Yeah.
I was a baseball player, and I enjoyed it. And, I still watch the Yankees because I started my life in New York.
Okay.
But if you're gonna have an intimidating name, Carolina Reaper's a whole lot better. And we have a lot of other peppers that have better names.
Yeah.
And I'm just thinking of it purely from a mascot standpoint and from what you could do for a jersey and a hat standpoint.
There's one on this list is called the Trinidad Moruga Scorpion. Like, holy smokes, that'd be a badass baseball team right there.
That's a great pepper. That comes in here in the United States around 1 million. They should reach out to me. I'll give them a list of names they can use.
Well, I bet you some minor league teams will take you up on that for sure. So,
yeah.
Ed, this has really been a lot of fun. I really appreciate it. The Pucker Butt Pepper Company, where can people find you online?
Oh, they can just go to puckerbuttpeppercompany.com. We have a large variety of sauces that we make, and we have a large variety of sauces that our friends make. Anything you can imagine that to make spicy, we usually carry, from like popcorn and candy all the way up to super hot oils.
I guess that's the reason they call you Smokin' Ed. I hope you stay cool as possible in this heat dome that we have right now. And thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, the Carolinas don't usually go down below 90 for the rest of until maybe September.
Yeah, I hear you. Well, stay as cool as you can out there.
I shall. You do the same, brother. Thank you for having me on.
Thank you, Ed. I appreciate it.
All right, everyone, welcome back. It's time, as promised, for Studio Simon Stumpers. Dan, good morning. Hello, how you doing?
I am fantastic, Paul. Thank you for asking. Hey, Paul, do you remember? Obviously, we're doing a stumper right now for the Gastonia Ghost Peppers. Do you remember that I did a stumper where I was asking about hot peppers? I don't remember what the team was being featured in the podcast. Do you remember that?
It was the Tri-City Chili Peppers who play in Virginia. That's how come we were talking about chili peppers once before.
And also speaking about peppers, my wife and I, my wife's name is AJ, before we were married, we went up for a weekend trip to Monterey, California. This is when I lived in Los Angeles. And there was an independent team in Salinas, California, which is right next to or right near Monterey. And we went to, my wife used to be a good egg about things like this. Now she doesn't go, she rarely goes to a baseball game with me, but she used to be a good egg about it. And we went to this, okay, we've been married 30 years, so this is over 30 years ago. And back then, you still had minor league facilities that were nothing like today's, beautiful facilities with all these amenities and stuff. You would have this was a wooden grandstand stadium. That stadium in Salinas used to have an affiliated minor league team. That facility was no longer up to even what the standards were over 30 years ago for affiliated minor league teams. So they ended up moving somewhere and became another team. But independent leagues did not and still do not have quite the same standards that must be met in order to be an affiliated minor league team. So anyways, this tiny little stadium, no bells, no whistles. And we went to see the Salinas Peppers play their inaugural game and their first game in their inaugural season. And their mascot was named Peppy the Pepper.
Peppy the Pepper. I dated someone who went to school in Monterey, and so I got out to Monterey a few times. It's a beautiful part of the country.
Was this person's name Peppy by any chance?
No, her name was not Peppy. But that would have been a funny nickname.
Okay. Well, let's get into this stumper. So before there was professional baseball in Gastonia, there were the Collegiate Summer League Gastonia Grizzlies.
Oh.
Did you not know that?
I did not know that. I did not know about the Grizzlies.
Okay. Well, with the announcement that a new ballpark would be built there in Gastonia for an Atlantic League expansion team that ultimately ended up being the Gastonia Honey Hunters, Matt Perry, who was then the owner of the Grizzlies, pulled up stakes and moved the Collegiate Summer League team.
Also Chandler on Friends.
Yes. So with the Gastonia Ghost Peppers being a food-themed identity, our studio Simon Stumper today asks, which of these two former and one current Collegiate Summer League teams that also have food-themed identities did the relocated Gastonia Grizzlies become?
Oof.
Was it A, the Savannah Bananas, B, the Macon Bacon, or C, the Spartan Burgers?
Well, I don't know. I'm trying to suss, Dan. I'm trying to think of like timelines, maybe. Who came into existence around the same time as the Honey Hunters? Could have been the Bananas. The Macon Bacon, I feel like the Macon Bacon have been around longer than that. I could be wrong about that, though. I could be wrong about that. And then I'm going to say not the Spartan Burgers.
Why are you going to say not the Spartan Burgers? I'm not saying that is or isn't the answer, but I'm just curious. Why are you eliminating them?
That not the current Spartan Burgers, not the Hub City Spartan Burgers who exist now, but the previous iteration, the collegiate summer level Spartan Burgers with no geographic signifier. My friend Ed ordered a hat from them and never got it. And so I don't want to give them any extra publicity. Although I think that the Hub City Spartan Burgers actually made good on that. I think even though it was a different franchise, Ed said something about it on social media, and they were like, you know what? We're going to send you a hat. So
That sounds like something I don't know who in Spartanburg would have done it, but Tyson Jeffers is the GM there, and he's a super guy. It sounds like something he would do.
yes, he's a nice guy, and he's been on this podcast. Okay, so the Savannah Sand Gnats left to become the Columbia Fireflies. Did that happen around the same time that the Gastonia Honey Hunters came into existence? I'm trying to suss this out, Dan, but it all feels like it happened like roughly around the same time. So as much as it sounds like I'm trying to like use knowledge and try to suss here, I'm just going to take a guess and say the Savannah Bananas.
The one that you eliminated first is the correct
The Spartan
answer.
Burgers?
Yes. So the Spartan Burgers played but one season in 2021. Well, let's actually, you were trying to put this in some type of chronological order in order to maybe help you get this correct. So I can tell you that the Savannah Bananas inaugural season was in 2016.
Okay.
The Macon Bacon came either the next year or 2 years after that.
Okay.
And the Spartan Burgers played but one season in 2021. So they're also the most recent. And in March 2022, they suspended operations due to, quote unquote, financial hardships the ownership suffered during the COVID-19 pandemic and the expected cost of ballpark renovations that were needed in that stadium in Spartanburg. So, but here's a connection. In 2008, at the age of just 23, Jesse Cole became the general manager of the Gastonia Grizzlies. And in 2015, he purchased the team and owned it until 2017, when another venture of his had picked up so much steam that he decided to sell the Grizzlies and give his full attention to the Savannah Bananas and ultimately to Banana Ball. So it sounds like he sold that team at a good time, because he sold in 2017, and then I guess it would have been in 2020, maybe 2019, it was announced that Gastonia was building a new stadium for professional independent minor league baseball. So it was a good decision by somebody who has apparently made a lot of good decisions.
Has made some good business decisions.
Yeah.
Dan, this was, you know how like, I don't know if you play like these online games, if you play, you know, Connections or Wordle or whatever, but like sometimes they're like easier on a Monday and then harder, like they sort of build up, and then the hardest one is like the Sunday version of it. This was the Sunday version of a Studio Simon Stumper. This was a tough one. All those teams, you know, moving and changing within like 5 years of each other and trying to determine which one became the other. And then the fact that Jesse Cole was involved with the Grizzlies and that the answer was not the Bananas. This was a Sunday New York Times crossword puzzle level of difficulty here, which I don't object to. You know, I want to be challenged on these.
Well, as they say, better luck next time. Hopefully, when I come back here next week, you will get back into the win column.
Yeah, I'm a little bit on the schneid right now. But with that in mind, Dan, we'll see you next week. Thank you again, as always.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me, and I'll see you next week.